There are several times Kola had tried to tell Simi that, oh, I'm having feelings for you, I'm starting to like you. But Simi would just notice the mood, she would dismiss him, and the poor boy would be confused. And it's because Simi just didn't tell him, about the consequence of her liking a human person. Hello, Novels and Bits listener. How are you doing? Oh my gosh, it's been a whirlwind. Well, look at how it's been for me. I have been low on liquid cash. And honestly, especially when you live in Nigeria or just generally in life, it's sort of security money gives. Let's not deny it. And honestly, at this moment, I don't have it. But it's good. Funny thing is, I just feel like I can trust God in this. And okay, I think it also helps knowing that, I've done some jobs, I might get some money to get by on and all of that. But most importantly, what I am really hinging on is that trust in God that He's going to take care of me. And then there's also the fact that no matter what is going on, I can be optimistic. I can choose to be optimistic. I can choose to I'm enthusiastic. I'm creating something new. I can choose to say that, at least I have data. At least my side is fair. I don't have to go around looking to charge my phone or leaving the house and all that so much. So I really appreciate those little things. And this is just me kind of reminding you that you can do this too. You don't have to wait for anything special. So, yay. Thanks for letting me riff for a bit. Okay, so today is the part 3. It's not part 3. We're still on one story, Skin of the Sea. But it's also long because it's a fantastical world and I had to take so much time to talk about the world building and stuff. But today, we're finally ending it. We introduced, first of all, Simi, her mission, how she saved the boy. And then on Thursday's episode, we went with her on her journey to try to find the rings, only for her to get to the Babalawo's place, and then the rings were no longer there. And then now they have a new mission they have to go to Isu's island. That's the part where I'm on. So on their way to Isu's island, Simi went to ask Olokan for his help, the god of the land of the dead. Land of the dead simply means that dead bodies, where dead bodies come to rest, physical bodies, underneath the sea and all that. So this is the point of the story where we're at. I know she didn't tell others that she went there, that she met the guy. So why was she keeping it from them? So all of those are things were about to happen. And come on, it's Isu's Island. It's a very treacherous place. So without further ado, yes, I was thinking of it with or without. Okay, so without further ado, let's finish this story once for all. Okay, so part 3. Simi promised to help him if he helped her, because when she went to ask Olokun for help, he was like, okay, I'll help you if you help me. Then Olokun whispered what he wanted in her ears, and then his words dripped with venom and revenge. Simi agreed to his demands, and then they reached a deal. She rested in the water for some time because, in human form, she's weaker, and then her legs easily pain her, so she just rested for some time before returning to the ship. And by the time she returned to the ship, the first light of daytime, and she was like, oh my God, I spent more time in the sea than I wanted to. And it was Yinka who helped her up the rope ladder. And which means Yinka saw her transform back to a human, back from the Mami Wata form. So she kind of knew, oh my God, this girl knows who I am right now. And remember, her and Yinka haven't exactly gotten along the best. Yinka was initially cold to her, but they've been, slow making progress. Then Kola informed her, that, when she got on the ship, Kola straight up said, oh, when we all woke up and found you gone, I had to tell the others something. So I had to tell them that you're Mami Wata. Simi didn't like it. And honestly, I didn't like it too. Who are you, Kola, to tell the others what I am? But the truth is, had he not said anything, they would ask questions when she returned. And honestly, they were just worried about her. She was like, they were worried about me? He was like, yes, of course they were. Now, look at the thing here. Kola trusted Yinka and Bem, and he just accepted Ifedayo because of his father. Ifedayo is a god that the father sent with him and said, I'll be more at ease if I know that this Ifedayo person is going with you than if you're just going alone and you just came back from almost death, right? So that's what happened. They get. So they were worried about her. And then the others accepted Simi for Mami Wata, and it relieved her because she felt ashamed for what she was. And I just feel this is that case of people not liking to stand out. I just want to riff a bit on that for 30 seconds. Please stand out. Every single person you admire are there because they stood out. So for Simi right now, because she's in the midst of humans, the only 7 Mami Wata, she's the last of them. So she's feeling ashamed of being Mami Wata. Meanwhile, that is such a thing of pride. Imagine you had the 7th, the last, your race is only 7. You're red thing. And you're ashamed of it. But then that's just life and humans. You're ashamed of your gifts. Stop. Just come out with it already. Let's celebrate you. We want to see you. So moving on from that, just to demonstrate a sign that she accepted Simi, Yinka agreed to spar with her. She invited her to spar with her. So they sparred. And then Yinka is really good at fighting. So Simi had to ask, where did you learn to fight? And then Yinka said that it's her mother who taught her. Her mother was trained as one of the Ahoshi. I'm definitely probably not pronouncing this right. And this Ahoshi means protectors of the king. So Ahoshi, just imagine the female warriors in Wakanda. They get all those fierce women. That's the kind of warriors the Ahoshi were. So how her mother came to Oko was that she was washed up on the beach, and she did not really talk about what really happened. But Yinka's father was the one who found her. They married, and they raised her. They just died the previous year from a sickness. So as they grew closer to the island, everybody fought nerves. This is Aces Island, right? So Ifedayo's way of coping with the nerves was making jokes at how Aces' reception would look like. He would not roll out red carpet, surely, and da-da-da. And then Issa that they sent home, remember Issa, that young boy that they sent home after shouting at him and everything that he should not come with them. Even his grandfather said, come back here. Oh. Uncle hid inside the ship, the hold of the ship. He hadn't gone home. So he reviewed himself while they were close to the island, and obviously they can't send him back or anything, so he has to go along with them. He was like, yes, good, I want to fight. See, tiny human being. No. Okay, they don't have choice now. He followed them. Again, if Ifedayo got sarcastic as they neared the island, in all their eyes, he communicated the same thing, that they shouldn't have brought him along because of that personality. Why not taking this seriously? Everybody's fighting nerves right here. You're not supposed to be making a plaything out of this, but that was just his way. So once they reached the shore, everybody was silent because you need to see this forest. It was so airy, you know how they do evil forest in Nigerian movies? That's how it is. And then it was misshapen somehow. The forest had broken and it had fallen back and it's entangled. Then, having studied the map on Simi's head multiple times, the one that Yinka plated now, Kola led them northeast. They were careful not to touch the fruits because it was dripping venom. They had to watch where they were stepping. Simi looked up, in the middle of them walking through the forest. Simi looked up. She was just chilled at the revelation that the forest gave an illusion of being in a cage. Monkeys screamed, birds screeched in a way that was human-like, unease filled the air, and Simi's started hurting again. But soon they came upon a river, and Nisa was like, don't be ashamed of what you are. Just put your legs in so you can feel better. So, and others actually admired her when she now just relax and put her legs in. And then Yinka even came and they had this conversation about feeling like a different person. Yinka was like, how does it feel like to transform? And then she too said that she feels like she transforms. Yinka feels like she's a different person whenever she's fighting and all of that. So they bonded over that talk. So after they left the river, they continued walking until sunset. These are people that got there early in the morning. So it was nighttime when they encountered a pack of large hyenas. It's the kind of hyenas that, that this is not normal. It's 3 times the size of what a normal hyena should be. And Simi tried to control them because, she can control sharks and waters and creatures in the waters. But hyenas on land, do you understand? So they even laughed at her and they started attacking. Everybody got hurt from this attack, especially Bem, who a hyena bit on the thigh. However, when a hyena climbed on Yinka, he retreated. So it turns out the hyenas were shapeshifters, but they can't remain in their human form for long. They sensed that Yinka was kin and they couldn't attack kin. Their race was known as Boltonjin. Please, just take me as I am, Boltonjin. So that's what the race is known as. The Boltonjin are known as people who can transform into hyenas. Asu bound them to protect the island. But even with that, they can't kill those who have their blood. And Yinka apparently has their blood somehow. So they urged the group to run away quickly from them because they lose control of their change. You understand? And before the group could get far away enough, obviously now people, this kind of thing, you just came out of hot fight, everything is high tension, you're still staring at these people like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm encountering you people. So it's just such a test moment that nobody's really running so fast. And the Bolgontin people changed again to hyenas, and then they gave the group a hot chase. The group ran into this cave, the Bolgontin followed, and then the passage of the cave was hot. There was lava flowing on the path parallel to the one they were on. It's not quite opposite, like the other side of the lane, is lava. So you can imagine it's really risky. That's what they were walking on. So Ifedaya was the one leading the way. And on the side they were supposed to come out of the cave, there was a boulder in the way. So Bem, Ifedayo and Kola had to, combine efforts to push the boulder out of the way enough so they could pass, not completely, just enough that they could go through. Behind them, Yinka was the one that had to stand between them and the Bolgontin, because obviously they found out that the Bolgontin will not kill her since they're kin. But we don't fully know that because these guys don't exactly have control over their forming. Their humanity is been taken from them. They're more animals than humans. But still, she's the best chance they had. So she's the one who had to stand between them, between the Bolgontin and her friends. So she was calm, even though her ass, because from attacking, her ass fell into the lava because it's really close on the other road, and the hyena was attacking her. She just asked the others to go on without her. So once everyone had come out on the other side, Ifedayo had to, allow the boulder to roll in place so that the Bolgontin will not come after them now. Issa cried. Yinka was gone like that. So after mourning Yinka and using up the last of the powder, their bada powder for their injuries, their wounds and bleeding became a dull ache, and they continued on their journey. So Ifedayo led the way, and soon they came upon a bridge leading to Isu's palace. It was seated on top a black rock, and it was enormous. To cross the bridge, they needed to solve the puzzle on the bridge. There were images carved on the stones of the bridge that told a story, and if the correct story of the bridge was told by stepping on the right stones, they could cross. If they stepped on the wrong ones, slabs of stone would keep disappearing from the edge until the bridge will become uncrossable. So Simi guessed that, what kind of story would Esu want to tell? He was like, he wants to tell the story of how he outsmarted Oludumare and became his messenger. So remembering her mother telling these stories, because her mother used to tell, was like the village storyteller, Simi started. Esu sneaked into Oludumare's garden, his storyarms from the god's earth. Oludumare was furious about this. And since Esu didn't want to be caught, he took Oludumare's slippers and put them on, using them to make footprints in the garden the next night as he stole more yams. He made it look as if it was only Oludumare who walked around the garden. Simi got stuck here, and they were halfway across the bridge. Like, she got stuck at this point of telling the story. She was stuck because the next stone she had to step on was the Olodumare slippers. There were two options, one that was intricate and then a plain slipper. She contemplated for a while. She chose the intricate, elaborate one. Obviously, it's the wrong one. If there is anything we've learned from childhood stories, whenever they say rich and poor, which one is a good one? The rotten apple or the one that is fine? It's always that rotten one or that very simple one. I mean, he's God. He doesn't need to prove himself by being all fancy. It's humans that get caught up in that rubbish. But so obviously the answer was a simple one, and she was just mad at herself, like, stupid. Like, because as she missed the answer, one stone receded, one stone went inside, obviously. So the space that they'll have to jump on after telling the story is now wider. And beneath it, if you don't jump the thing correctly, like the fall into the sea below is very far. Imagine like the height is very far, the bridge. So you might not even make it to fall inside the sea safe. I think it even see that is Mami Wata is like, she doesn't even know if she can survive the drop from that place into the sea. Talk more of the humans with her. Do you understand? So it's, the risk is so much. And to make matters worse, because Auntie's already mad at herself that, I should have just gotten this thing right. I should have known that is the simple slippers Oludumare will have. And why she's still trying to just wrap her head around it, the large winged bats started flying towards them. So after choosing the simple slipper, Simi just had to continue with the story. She had to force herself to keep going. So Esu showed Oludumare the supreme god's own footprints and suggested that he had stolen the yams. So Simi caught sight of the creatures. They had giant wings, the wings that came as she's trying to continue. Their claws were as long as her arms. They had a muscular body that was both fold. It had four, and it was muscular. Their face was both bat-like and strangely human. Just weird creatures. Their size was also twice of Kola, like they're big. And these creatures, their name is Sasabonsam. We've already met the Bolton Jane. Now is the Sasabonsam. Do you understand? So the boys focused on defending the group, while Simi focused on finishing the story. So Olodumare was annoyed and confused that he missed something, and that's how he now ordered Esu to visit the sky each and every night to tell him what had happened on earth that day. That way, Esu became messenger to Olodumare. They had to jump from that stone because of the part that the stone had receded. Like, there was no more stone there. So everybody jumped, but Bem couldn't make it because more stones just started now receding fast. And then the gap got bigger, so he had to run backwards away, the way they came from, and hide. So another Sasabonsam attacked Simi and the others. Like Simi, the only people now left is Simi, Kola, Isa, and Ifedayo. So they tried to stab the wing and the hat. So they're like, Kola will stab the wing, Simi will stab the hat. But it was hard. And then the Sasabonsam now clawed Simi's shoulder. It was now bleeding. It now bit into Kola's forearm. Then Isa bravely sliced Sasabonsam's cheek. Then Isa is tiny. Then he picked Isa up, killed him, just literally picked him in his teeth and broke the guy apart. The sparkle of Isa's soul floated out. And everybody was now despaired. So content with what the damage it had done, the Sasabonsam soared into the night. So down with grief, Simi was too worried to go on. So it's actually like, if a diary that said, if we need to go on, or this creature, that this creature is going to come back. So they had to step, there was a bronze door now that they had to pass through, like to get into Esu's palace proper. But they needed to solve puzzles again. There were images of Esu on the door at different points. In one, he was standing in the center of the crossroads. So they decided to push all the crossroads. Simi pushed east and west. Kola pushed north and south. So the doors opened to them and they were finally in Esu's palace. Kola closed the door and they walked inside. He was so heavy with grief. Like, to console him, Simi was like, don't worry, we'll find the twins and the rings, and then we can mourn Isa afterwards. In the hallway, there were columns spaced equally apart, decorated with all the orishas. Esu's depiction had two faces, and others had one face. Everybody's own was there. Like all the orishas, all 400 orishas, their columns were there. Their statues and all that. But then Esu's depiction had two faces, and Simi was like, what does this mean? They now came to double doors of orange and yellow citrine, double doors. And then they went in, and that room was Esu's throne room. And then they were now, obviously there was nobody in the room now. And they were now hearing voice talking to them, Esu's voice talking to them out of nowhere and everywhere. Then Esu now finally revealed himself to be none other than Ifedayo. So all the while, since they started this journey to Esu's island, Esu was with them. Can you imagine? Ha! So his wrapper transformed. He was taller, his voice was deeper, his limbs thicker. He was no longer skinny. And to Simi, his limp made sense now because Ifedayo limps. So what his limp meant is one foot in the human world and the other in Olodumare's. Again, Simi blamed herself for not realizing sooner. She demanded to know why he toyed with them. He explained he'd known of her quest since they encountered Shango. Somebody corrected me. So the correct pronunciation for this god, this Orisha, is Shango, not Sango. And he told them of the jewel at her throat. It's Shango that told Esu of the jewel at Simi's throat. So Esu tried to sow disunity between Kola and Simi by revealing to Kola, because Kola didn't know, because there are several times Kola had tried to tell Simi that, I'm having feelings for you, I'm starting to like you. But Simi would just notice the mood, she would dismiss him, and the poor boy would be confused. And it's because Simi just didn't tell him, about the consequence of her liking a human person. So it was now Esu that told Kola that, if Simi ever asks on her love for you, she'll become firm on the sea. He was expecting that Kola would get mad. Why didn't you tell me? But Kola was just calm. And then seeing that he didn't get the reaction he wanted, Esu started laughing. So they now asked about the twins. Esu said they're safe. However, he had underestimated Kehinde. Kehinde is a smart twin, the second one, the girl, because she hid her own ring on the way there and she won't tell him where she hid it. It was for this reason, to find Kehinde's ring, that he went to Oko, but it was useless. I'm not going to lie. Esu was pretty laid back in this scene. In different circumstances, he's almost likable. That's if you like Lucky. But in this situation, we hate him. You understand? So Kola asked Esu, why is that you crave so much? Why do you crave so much power at the cost of so much lives? And he said that, so it was like Olodumare rained powers on earth as if they were nothing. Orisha scrambled in the dirt to collect what they could. To him, to Esu, it just wasn't fair that those who use their powers loudly enjoy the adoration of humans and bestowed powers and blessings. Meanwhile, him had to keep the Ajogun away and be a common messenger. And while he's doing this, look at mankind, they're just doing whatever they want. So after all this is ranting and everything, I was like, you know what? You, Kola safe, since you're here, I'll use you as leverage, like ransom now, so I can collect the location of the ring from Kende. So this effect, he started attacking Kola, who bravely prevented his blows. He attacked Simi too, but she danced away from his attack and she stayed next to Kola. The Orisha was just entertaining himself with them because he knows he can finish them in one blow. Then next thing, Kola turned to Simi and he was like, go and find the twins. Then he met Esu head on in a fight to give Simi a chance to get away. Kola was so strong and fast that Esu and Simi, they were surprised. Kola had to be like, Simi, go, because she was not watching, like, this kind of thing. I rooted her to a spot. They can't find the twins. And by the time he said this again, he was already bleeding from a wound Esu had just inflicted on him. So Simi ran. She found a spiral staircase. Each step was like walking on hot coals. Her shoulders hurt from that place. The Sasabonsam, clawed it. It was a long walk. It seemed unending. She even paused at a point. Felt as if her chest was on fire. She was weak. She was wheezing. Like, she was crying. Like, oh my God, this is down. Kola is downstairs. He's fighting Esu. But she finally got to a room that was roofless. The edge opened up, the up above, you can see the stars because it was already night, and beneath it you can see the sea, like if you go to the edge of that room. So it's like dropping straight into the sea. The twins were held in a cage in that room. So Simi, they couldn't have been older than 8 or 9 years old. They were so small. So Kende was cautious, while Taiwo got excited the moment he heard that Kola was there. Kende told Simi that Esu can't take her ring away from her without permission, and he can't trick it from her since she didn't have it. Very smart girl. So the cage was locked and Esu had the key. So Simi tried to find something to smash that key place open, but then she heard the scrape of a blade and leaden footstep. So Simi readied herself to fight Esu, but it was a bloody Kola. He rushed over and had the key to open the cage. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Like, how can he just have... Okay. So Kola said Esu was coming. Then Simi oh, hurry. Simi nervously, she collected the key. She opened the cage. The twins rushed to Kola outside. Taiwo was crying. Why can't they watch this Kola with a frown? Like, she's just watching this Kola with a frown. Like, do you get? This guy is smart. Next, he was like, Kende, where's your ring? She hesitated to answer. And together they had the drag of steel on stone and someone else coming up. So Kola kept demanding from Kende where her ring was. Simi was like, that Kola. He was like, he now shouted at her, be quiet. And his eyes were darker than she remembered. So with incoming danger, Simi was just like, can we at least get the twins to safety? But the so-called incoming danger was Kola, the real Kola. Simi felt stupid that Esu had tried to trick her again, or had tricked her again, and she rushed to the real Kola's side. He was so injured that she even wondered how he managed to climb the stairs. Yet in that state, this Baba still stood before the Orisha to defend his loved ones. Esu dealt Kola a deadly blow after Kola slashed his chest. Simi felt despair seeping in as she watched Kola in his barely alive state. Esu knew he had the group backed into a corner. There was no other way to run. That's when he started talking, like bad guys normally do when they feel they've won. He said he couldn't be content with being a mouthpiece, a joker, and a keeper of balance between the Dragoon and Orishas. He needed more. So he wanted to be the most powerful Orisha. Look at the thing here. Orishas are governed by Olodumare, their conduct. So they don't have true freedom to just use their powers anyhow they want. They get to either to rule or to be worshipped or to reward and discipline those who deserve punishment. However, if Esu had these rings, he could actually be an independent acting Orisha. Or rather, that's what he believes, and he would not be under Olodumare's decree. He believed that he can fully influence humans and Orishas. So what could be more powerful than that? Simi reminded Esu that, see, so far, even the powers you have, you've only used it for wicked purposes that has brought division of the world. He didn't even pass on prayers of people or Orishas, not Olokun's pleas to have his case heard. Has the guy not tried? So a crime he did, he's been punished for 1,000 years. No hope of coming out of it. He asked Esu, can you go to Olodumare for me and plead my case? Also will not do. Is it Yemoja's messages of atonement? He never sent it. Yet he punished her because he was jealous that she was able to create Mami Wata, and he wasn't. He didn't care about protecting anyone, although he claimed he would protect those who bow to him instead of Olodumare. Man, I completely hate this guy. He reminds me of Nigerian politicians. As where you are already, you are doing bad things that is glaring for all the world to see, but you're saying, if you give me so and so office, I will change. The one we have not seen goodness is you want to enter a bigger position and create more havoc, Abi. So he claimed he wouldn't forsake those who worshipped him, but he already had forsook many people with his jealousy and desire for more power. Esu still played with them for some time. Oh. He kicked Kola in the ribs, strangled him, let him drop to the floor like potatoes. He threatened that if Kehinde didn't tell him where her ring was, he would skin Kola alive. Simi tried to fight, but she was weak. Then Esu propositioned her. He said he'd make her human if she complied with his demands. Simi remembered how it felt to be with Kola, and she considered what Esu was offering. But then she remembered that Esu was a trickster and he did not care for anybody. If there was truly a way to be human again, she had to find it on her own later. So as her last bargaining chip, Simi said she knew where Kehinde's ring was. Kehinde threw the ring into the sea, and even Kehinde did not know where it landed or who had it, but Simi knew. She said she would tell him where this ring was if he answered her riddle. Esu was a master of riddles, and Simi was aware of this. Her riddle went thus: I exist to be discovered, but cannot be fully explored. I am ever changing, yet one of the same. Some say that I lead only to Olodumare. What am I? Esu found the riddle too easy. He had traveled the world. He had seen cold seas with their icy bites and ships that shattered in the freezing depths. He had seen canopies of forests as vast as the ocean, shattered stars in the sky, and absorbed unspeakable knowledge. So the greatest mathematicians had passed their knowledge to him too. And therein lay the answer to the riddle. The world is full of repeating patterns that we discover in nature and that we create. Because of this, the one true path that leads to Olodumare is infinity. That's the answer, infinity. Actually, this whole thing, like the writer, the reason she used this riddle is that, you know, when the Oyibo people first came to us here in Africa, they saw our patterns, like our houses, all those patterns we use on our houses, our hair plates, our wrapper, and the tie-dye, and they thought it lacked order, that it was just what am I going to say? Like, you know, when they say nkita, like chicken na bwana, like they thought it was just disorder. But actually, Africans discovered the concept of infinity before European mathematicians did. So years later, they discovered it and they think, oh, okay, now that they're saying that, we actually had a lot of order before they ever came to us. So this is a beautiful part of history to note. Infinity. You understand? And honestly, that concept of infinity is something I love so much personally. Do you get? So that's the answer to that riddle. So as Esu was talking, the sea was behind him. And Simi prepared her mind to do something drastic. Once he answered the riddle, and he now threw his head back to laugh to the heavens now. Bad guys. She just, very predictable, she wrapped herself around him and she threw both of them over the edge into the sea. In the heat of this moment, Simi remembered her last moment as a human. You know, Simi does not remember how she became Mami Wata, just as she was reborn. So what happened was that on the ship that she was on, Simi had wounded the Oyibo for their cruel acts of tossing the eel and punish into the sea as though they were nothing. And then, because she had wounded them now, so the punishment would be severe, but she was just angry. She just went to the edge of the sea herself. She was just looking at them. Before they had the chance to push her, she threw herself in. So it is in those last moments that Yemoja came to her and gave her choice to become Mami Wata. So Simi had actually tried to commit suicide. So all this was happening at nighttime. Like, you know, this was nighttime that this whole thing was going down. So Simi sunk Esu into the sea. They were battered by rocks on the way falling in. But before Simi could bleed or what, the sea healed her. Because the moment she drops into, at some point, something slashed her. But before it could bleed, she entered water, the thing healed. Do you understand? So Esu was alarmed because he's not Mami Wata. He doesn't have powers of the water. So, you understand? So, and now that they were in the sea, Simi had the upper hand. Esu was trying to stab her. She dodged his attacks. She laughed at him. She dragged him by his ankle to the bottomless part of the sea. Esu was trying to strangle her. She was just laughing at him through the pain. She commanded else, because she has command over creatures of the water, to wrap his body. It's the else that pulled his grip from her neck. She now commanded it to bite him. Let me tell you about an else bite. It's like 1,000 soldier ants on your skin. It is agony. Recently, I've had, unfortunately, a few soldier ants had bit me in recent weeks. And I am telling you, it's not funny. You know, when we are younger, when we used to cry from it, it is legit to be cried over. Because even as adults, sometimes the stink of it can stay for like hours. Like, the worst of it definitely fades in a few minutes, but the stink can stay for hours. So the ant pain. So that's an else bite, and 1,000 of it was on Esu's body. He deserves it. So Simi's hair hid many things. But you know, it was hiding the dagger that Yemoja gave her. And that thing it was hiding was a black pearl. She released it to the seabed. And she released it to call for help. So while she was waiting for that help to come, she messed with Esu big time. She gave him 3 slashes on each cheek that he gave to Yemoja. Those same slashes. But after he got free, and tried to swim up for air. He wasn't even focusing on attacking her. He just wanted to go up where he has power. She waited for him so much to reach the surface, and then she dragged him back down. Good girl. I love revenge. Esau was busy trying to strangle Simi again as she was dragging him down. So he didn't notice Olokun come behind him and use his chains. Olokun has this chains that's been bounding him from a millennia. He used that same chains to wrap Esau. Like Olokun dealt with Esau big time for not passing on his messages and for trying to trick his way into gaining the powers of the sea. He had tried to use Olokun's punishment. You see, you're punished. Oh, you give me the powers of the sea, then I'll help you. Who are you playing with? We know you, Esau. We know you. So Olokun came before Simi summoned, because Simi summoned him with a black pearl he gave her. So he would hold Esau in the bottom of the sea until Olodumare intervened. So Esau will now be held captive in the sea where he does not have power. The only person who can save him, Olodumare. You have to summon him eventually. So Orishas could trump over one another because on her own, Simi could not have bound an Orisha like Esau, but another Orisha can bind another Orisha. Do you get? Actually, when they catch him off guard now, like in Esau's case. So Olokun was with Kende's ring. He's one that was okay in this ring. So he gave it to Simi, and then she promised to keep her promise. She promised to keep, her promise. Because, he had said, so if I help you, what will you do for me in return? And she was like, anything you want. And he had whispered what he wanted. But she said, don't worry, I'll keep my promise because you helped me. She was sorrowful because the promise she made is a really heavy one, but she had to bury the emotion. So she rushed back to Esau's palace, although the skin Esau strangled, like that her neck Esau strangled had not fully healed yet. She needed to have stayed in the sea longer to heal, but she couldn't afford it. She had to go back to Kola's side. And then moment Kola saw her, because this guy was barely hanging on to life, he just died. Simi didn't cry. She was like, I can't cry. She just carried Kola's head, placed it in her lap, and she watched his soul escape his body. His soul was beautiful. And as Simi touched the strands, because it's like silver, like with gold, like gold threads around it. As she touched the strand, she saw all of Kola's memories. His last one was of her after she transformed, and he saw her as courageous. In his eyes, she was more than Mami Wata and a girl, but that was when Simi was feeling ashamed of herself. But in his eyes, then as he was looking at her, I was like, man, this girl is courageous. She's more than just Mami Wata. She's just so beautiful. And Simi was just so hesitant to collect his soul, because collecting his soul felt so final, accepting that he's dead. That's when she recalled the rings and Babalawo and the Babalawo's words. The twins had abundance and life that blessed lands and people's health. With the rings, those powers were enhanced. She called them forward, and they placed their hands on his chest while wearing their rings. So Simi prayed for Kola to stay and live. The twins prayed too, and then the gold bands shone, like the bands of the ring. So in the end, Kola's soul returned to his body. Beautiful. So it took a few minutes of heart-wrenching wait. That moment in movies where waiting, did he make it? Did he make it? And then he now breathes, and then he now opened his eye. That dramatic slow moment. So in the early morning, Simi now finally wore the 2 rings, and then she now praised Olodumare for his forgiveness. She said the prayer that Yemoja taught her, and then the rings burned hotter and bright on her fingers. So Olodumare showed her, I've forgiven you, because he just showed her all of her memories and all the beauty, even as Mami Wata, he understood all her desperation. She was just filled with peace, and the rage was gone. This was just such a beautiful moment. So Simi returned the rings to the twins and informed Kola that Esau was bound by Olokun. She explained that, that time I said I didn't see him, I actually saw him, but he asked me not to tell anyone because she couldn't be sure of anyone. And that had worked to their advantage, because imagine if they each had said I went to Olokun and Esau had heard it, he would have known what he was going inside the water for. Do you understand? So, and because he was in their midst now, disguised as if a dio. So Olokun knew. He gave sound counsel. So Kola was worried about what Simi has to do in return for Olokun. What was the price? After hesitating, she now finally told him that I agreed to keep Olokun company in the land of the dead. So it's here that Kola and Simi said goodbye. Honestly, I cried. Because there was that moment of, no, you don't have to do that. And she was like, it's the only way. And then he didn't want Simi to go. She didn't want to go, but she had to. And to make things easier, she just dived into the sea without a last goodbye. From that edge. It's really dramatic. And that's the end of the book. That's the end of the Skin of the Sea. At least Esau was bound. Oh my gosh. So I really want to read the main story that inspired all Little Mermaids, the one that Hans Christian Andersen wrote. That one doesn't have a good ending, but I still want to read it. Skin of the Sea, I already said, is set in the mid 1400s to 15th century. Simidele's name means follow me home. There's a lot of African mythology in the story. I admire the writing a lot. There's a second book, Soul of the Deep, and just stick around. We'll talk about this in a few months. So Skin of the Sea is a blend of history, myth, and fiction. And I have observed that my favorite genre is romantic historical fiction. This is the first time I'm actually admitting this, but I've noticed a pattern in my reading. Because come Monday, okay, whatever story you say, we are going to have it just. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.